Hi everyone. Hey, thanks for having me on. TASGiving. This is super cool event so far. Thank you seriously very much for having me on. I'm TGH. I speedrun a lot of 2D Zelda. This is going to be an RTA speedrun of Link's Awakening DX. Was released in 1998. I will spare a somewhat long intro and just kind of get going. This is the any percent no wrong warp no out of bounds category, and we're gonna get going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So, thanks. So, no wrong warp no out of bounds. So wrong warp is fairly simple. When you transition screens or submaps, you have to go to where the developers intended you to go. That is, there's no exception to that rule. Out of bounds is a little bit more complicated. So out of bounds constitutes as follows: either more than one tile adjacent to a tile that you cannot access without glitches, or transitioning from screen to screen while being clipped into a wall more than 3 pixels. So that really only comes into play once in this run, or that could potentially, I would mistakenly go out of bounds at one point, but I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. So basically, beginning of this run is pretty simple. We're going to get the sword, and then we need to get rupees. So we need to get rupees for a couple of different reasons, actually. So the beginning of this run is quite luck-based. We need to get 10 rupees in order to be able to afford bombs, but we're not going to exactly buy the bombs. I'll get to that when we come to it. But first and foremost, we're just going to kill enemies, have them drop rupees, hopefully drop rupees. It is RNG. And you'll notice that I actually collected 1 rupee there, but it counted twice. I'm doing something called rupee duping, or rupee duplication, which is essentially having a rupee land both on Link and his shield at the same time. And you have a 50% chance based on frame rules, to basically just meaning like something can happen every other frame, to actually have the rupee count twice. And it's quite interesting, actually, but it really helps us out in that first part, especially when rupee drops are very scarce. It can speed up that section quite a bit. So now we're going to steal, and I'm going to issue a flashing lights warning here. So if you are prone to epileptic anything, look away, please. There we go. All right, so we are going to quote-unquote buy bombs, and by that I mean we're gonna bring the bombs to the shopkeeper and save and quit before he actually takes the rupees away, which gives us the bombs but doesn't, have us pay, which is really nice. And then we're just gonna steal the bow. We're very good Samaritans here on Gahalan Island. So, yep. So instead of actually, buying things like a good citizen, we are going to use this money to buy some mysterious powder in the crane game over here. Makes sense, right? This is actually magic powder. This allows us access into Dungeon 2 further than just the second room in the dungeon. All right, so we're just going to enter Madame Meow Meow's house here before we go get the tail key. And then we're going to come out to set a save point right there. Because when you save and quit, it brings you back to the last submap transition. Submap meaning... Hey, cool, I got that. Nice. I'll get to that trick a little bit later. It saves us a little bit of time here. But submap transition basically meaning like overworld to underworld and back again. Underworld meaning like, entering a house, cave, dungeon, etc. Oh, not quite. All right, so that's called a bomb trigger, by the way, what I just did, and that one only saves a couple seconds. But we are going to do some bomb triggers later on that save a lot more time than that. So now that we have the tail key, we're going to go ahead and enter Dungeon 1. I'm going to try something once and only once here. And I got it. There's like a 1 in 3 chance that you're able to just walk over that pit based on frame rules. And of course, we got the marathon luck. So, or the opposite of marathon luck. So you might have noticed as well upon entering Tail Cave, I actually menued to bow and shield right as I entered. That was on purpose. That actually skips the intro dungeon text. We'll be doing that a lot this run. We'll be like pausing, opening the save and quit menu in order to skip text as we go. The most notable instance of that is going to be on chests. Every single time I open a chest, I'm going to be opening the save and quit menu to skip the chest text. And there's a trick I can do there to boost, but I'm not going to do it because I have not great health to do it with. All right, so I'm going to do a trick here called a super jump. I'll do it and then I'll explain it. There it is. So a super jump is the act of basically initiating the act of jumping off a cliff without actually jumping off of a cliff. Here's another one right here. So what happens when you jump off of a cliff is the game, like, okay, so for those of you who are familiar with Link to the Past and or its mechanics at all, so you know that there's layers. There are layers between, you know, areas you can walk, right? Like there's an upper layer and a lower layer, etc. That doesn't actually exist in this game. Like, you know, this is an 8-bit game as opposed to a 16-bit like Link to the Past. So instead, what the game does is instead of having layers, that was Moldorm, by the way. That's legitimately probably the hardest boss in the game. So you'll see like this particular platform that I'm standing on right here is made up of a floor, right? And then the area around the platform is also made up of a floor. Those are actually on the same exact layer. The division between the quote-unquote layers, or, you know, what you perceive as layers, is just a barrier. It's a one-way pass-through barrier that allows Link to jump down. And the way it handles those barriers is it basically, like, it puts Link in no-clip state, essentially, until he lands on the ground. And that's what we're doing by super jumping. So we're actually clipping into the wall slightly, and with some careful momentum manipulation and orientation changing, using an item or being in that orientation in the first place, we can actually just initiate the action of jumping off a cliff and therefore no clipping through anything in our way. So we're not actually jumping over blocks per se, we are jumping through them because they are not meant to be jumped over. In other words, we're cheating. All right, so anyway, we're going to rescue Bow Wow now from the clutches of the moblins over here, because for some reason Bow Wow can't eat these moblins. Eats everything else on the island except for these things. Strange. Here we have the Moblin King. That was interesting. Hopefully I can still 2-cycle this. Okay, we're good. That was a little bit dicey, but yeah, I tried to like get to the right side of the Moblin King just to have his charge be a little shorter. That didn't really work out too well. Oh well. It's luck based when he actually charges at you. So we're gonna do something called the text clip right now. So that's actually subpixel dependent as well. Hey Bow Wow, you wanna hello? You tried. Please? There we go. All right, cool. So, a text clip is essentially just using a text box to clip further into a wall. Because you can clip into walls. You can clip into walls horizontally up to 3 pixels and vertically up to 2 pixels. By just walking into the corner of it, it's actually not really that hard to do at all. It's just like via natural movement, you can clip into a wall. So it's not as it's when I say like, oh, you clip into this wall, it's not a complicated maneuver at all. You just kind of walk into the corner of it. This game has very lenient corners. So here we have one of the hardest mini bosses in the game. This is the Hinox. All right, he's dead. Okay, so that was the Hinox, and we killed him before this music even started. He's not actually the hardest mini boss in the game. That was a joke, but all right. So here we have the Boo Buddies. Boo Buddies can actually be just shot off screen with one arrow, with careful maneuver there. We're gonna grab the power bracelet here and just leave. We have better things to do. Essentially, it actually saves about 4 seconds. Actually, I've heard 4 seconds and I've heard 6 seconds. I don't know which, but it saves. We're gonna go with 6 because it's more time saved, and I can feel better about it. So 6 seconds saved to come back later with items like the boots, the magic rod, the L2 bracelet, the hook shot, etc., and just kind of like complete it then instead of now. In the meantime, we're going to head over to Dungeon 3. Dungeon 3 is entered via not very conventional means at all in this run. We're going to do something called Villa Skip. So ordinarily, you'd go to Canaanite Castle, you'd collect 5 golden leaves, you'd come back to appease Richard and in his villa. But we're going to do something called Villa Skip instead. So we're just going to get on this hole and pause over and over until you hear a fall sound, and then we can transition. So essentially what happened there was I paused on the same frame that Link actually fell down the hole. Whoops. And what happens when you do that is Link will gravitate towards the bottom of that hole and will be able to transition. And then we do some similar shenanigans to leave the screen. There we go. And because the game sees that there are tiles in front of us that cannot be accessed, it just kind of dumps us, so to speak, onto the next available tile down. And we can enter Dungeon 3 by doing this instead of going all the way around, because the game just checks to see if you're facing upwards. And if you clip into that wall slightly, you can just unlock it. So here's Dungeon 3. Dungeon 3 is actually really cool. It has some really cool tricks. We've got Dodongo Skip, we've got French Press, we've got, well, getting Piece of Power. That's a cool trick as well. So Piece of Power in this game is not actually luck-based. It is based on your kill count. It is 32, I believe, in this game. I always get this in the remake confused. But it's 32 plus the max amount of heart containers you have kills before this thing drops. That's a Piece of Power, and it actually increases your movement speed 1.25 times, I think? That's what it looks like. Also, that's the Dodongo Skip. That is a super jump combined with a clink off of one of the Dodongos in order to get yourself out of the arena and just completely skip the fight. We do that twice, but not before doing this trick right here. This is actually pretty cool as well. This is really flashy if I can get it. There we go. So that's a super jump plus a bump off the Salphos with the shield combined with a redirection with my own sword, which is actually really, that's one of the trickier tricks to do in the game. And we do Dodongo Skip again, and the text clip. We don't need that last key, and we're out of here. So fun fact, that text clip actually has a 15 and 16 chance to work. So basically, with Piece of Power at least. Without Piece of Power, it's a 9 and 16. So basically, if you don't get that text clip, the game's just telling you to like piss off, I guess. But yeah, so we are collecting the Sea Lily's Bell, and we're going to be on our way towards the trick that I was mentioning earlier. So I mentioned something about bomb triggers. Didn't really mention a lot about them, only that they save a little bit of time and they save more time later. Well, they're about to save us a lot of time. So there is a walrus that is blocking our path to the desert, to Yarna Desert, to be specific. We need this walrus to get out of our freaking way. And to do that, So ordinarily, we would get the ocarina, right? We'd go see Marin. We would date Marin. We would do a whole bunch of things. A whole bunch of things that notably take a lot of time to do. And we're not going to do any of them. Instead, we're going to do a bomb trigger to activate the cutscene. I'll explain like how to do it, and then I'll explain like why it actually works. Or at least I'll do my best to, because it is honestly still kind of a mystery to a lot of members of the community. Oh, thanks, Bow Wow. I actually wanted to take damage on that. Whatever. So, a bomb trigger is when you place 2 bombs at the same time within 4 in-game frames or active frames of each other, and it looks like this. So, what the heck is going on here? Well, so there is a tech in the game that is actually intended called a bomb arrow. So if you fire an arrow and a bomb at the same time, a bomb arrow will fire instead of a regular arrow or regular bomb. When you place 2 bombs within 4 active frames of each other, that means like frames not taken up by I don't know, a transition or a menu or etc. The game thinks you're firing a bomb arrow because you're ordinarily not supposed to have 2 bombs on the same screen at the same time. So the game's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that. You must be doing this. You must be trying to fire a bomb arrow right now. Like, no questions, no arguments. But there's no arrow on screen to actually, like, activate to become a bomb arrow. So it activates the first sprite on the screen, which is actually the cutscene that is meant to take place on that screen. So you can activate cutscenes. There was a mini boss there, by the way. You can activate cutscenes at will without having met the requisite for said cutscene by doing a bomb trigger. Very powerful stuff. And you also might have been wondering why I died on purpose, as far as you know. I died on purpose in order to actually get my items back. So the game still thinks I'm in a cutscene until I either die or transition submaps. We don't want to transition submaps because that would change our save point. That would change our save warp point, and we don't want that. This game's fun. Oh, that was interesting. So as far as you know, that was the correct way to fight that boss. So that was Master Armos. He has our face key, our cute little face key. And that is our key to Dungeon 6. So we're doing Dungeon 6 before Dungeon 4. Now, Dungeon 6 is surrounded by water. Water that you can normally only traverse with the flippers, which are gotten in Dungeon 4. Luckily, we are actually Jesus in this game. We can jump on top of water by pausing on the same frame as we land on it. I don't know why I picked that up. Whoops. We can combine that here with a well-position and just sort of wrap around like that to get into that staircase. Leaving D6 is a lot more difficult and also a lot harder to optimize as well. So watch this carefully. Ready? Bow Wow indeed just ate the cutscene and allowed me to move during it. So that is proof that cutscenes are manifested in sprites in this game. That one just happens to be invisible. In fact, they are all invisible. But Bow Wow, it's kind of weird how that works, actually. Because what you essentially do is you use a bomb arrow. So that sprite is considered dead. And, oh, whoops. So that's like a dead sprite, basically. Did you really just go back underground? Wow. So that's a dead sprite. And then the game thinks that that's a sprite. I don't know. I really... This game is weird. Anyway. So we have Dungeon 6, which is actually one of my favorite dungeons in this game, aside for one part in particular. So we got the L2 bracelet. Now, the L2 bracelet actually has a couple of purposes in this game. One of them is obvious, to lift heavier things. The other one is not as obvious. The other one is to serve as a flag to keep the ghost. Remember the ghost, for those who've played this game? The ghost after Dungeon 4. It serves as a flag for that ghost to not follow you after you finish Dungeon 4. That is the reason we were doing Dungeon 6 first. That's a cool little strat. You get all those whiz robes in one spin slash plus a bomb. So this dungeon is kind of completely broken apart by super jumps. There's one in particular coming up that actually has a 3-pixel window unless you or else you soft lock the game. So hopefully we don't hopefully we don't fall victim to that. It's right here. There we go. We're fine. We're fine. So you can either get stuck in the wall or you can get stuck in a corner which doesn't allow you to actually jump, which is bad. But upcoming, we have something kind of infamous. We have horse heads. We have horse heads. You have a 1 in 4 chance of each pair of throws to actually advance. Because each of those horse heads have a 1 in 2. 1 in 2 chance to land upright. You need them both to land upright. It's a great puzzle. Well, upcoming, we have the boss, Facade. You know, I wasn't lying when I said that Moldorm was the hardest boss in the game, because you have bosses like this. Where you can damage Facade 3 times before he even, like, starts the fight. And that bomb is fairly simple to time, and that's it. That's the fight. So Facade makes a return, by the way, and go ahead. Sure.
Yep, sorry to interrupt. I do apologise.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yep, apologies for interrupting. Just to let everybody know that you're watching TASGiving 2021, benefiting Nami. All your donations go towards Nami. We're still needing to save Marin. $400. Can anybody save Marin? Can we save Marin? Get those donations in. Please, please, please. It would be absolutely fantastic if you can donate. Exclamation mark donate in the chat gives you the donation link. It is donate.tasgiving.org. Please get those donations in to TGH.
Please save Marin. Please save Marin. Oh, that was weird. Okay. So I'm actually trying, and I think succeeding at, a strat that actually gets out of here in 2 what we call Jesus jumps. So you can see here that I'm pausing and landing on the water on the same frame there, which is actually not as hard as it might sound, because this game actually has a really cool, and by cool I mean very accessible, buffer system, which allows you to pause frame perfectly by just holding the pause button upon unpausing, which is pretty nice, actually, especially for newer runners. So you can essentially frame perfectly do anything just at the cost of 2 seconds, which is or 2 seconds per buffer, I should say, which is how long a menu takes. Yep, so now that we have the L2 bracelet, the ghost will not bother us after Dungeon 4. And we're going to come up here first and foremost. A little bit of interesting routing here. We're going to enter this cave and then immediately turn around and hightail it to the Dungeon 4 keyhole, where we're going to unlock Dungeon 4. And that's just to set a save point. By the way, I'm doing something called boots buffering. Each time I pick up a rock, you'll see me like actually charge my boots before I pick it up. the boots charge frames, or the boots charge. Let me put this in technical terms. Actually, the boots charge frame timer gets stored while you pick up a rock, so you don't have to like recharge, if that makes any sense. All right, so upcoming is one of the most important skips in the whole game. It's called Obstacle Skip, or as I like to call it, Popsicle Stick. So jumping past that obstacle instead of dashing through it saves a quarter of a second. And you have, I think, a 3-pixel window to get it on the Y coordinate. All right, so Dungeon 4. We do a little bit of Dungeon 4, I promise. So we can do a Jesus jump right here. Nice. That was actually really good. That saves 1 second and also a bomb and an arrow. And then you can just jump across there. Like that's actually pretty simple to do in this version. Ooh, that's actually really good too. So both those are actually done frame perfectly, which is really good. Like honestly, a huge part of optimizing this run at a high level is just minimizing your buffers on those Jesus jumps. And of course, like, you know, if you want to not buffer any extra times, like, you're required to actually pause. That's a thing that you have to do. Like, so it's not like you can Jesus jump without pausing. Here's a nice little fancy series of super jumps by the... Oh, okay. All right. The game told me to go away, I guess. There we go. Okay. So that's 2 super jumps, both of them with deflections off of the P-hat in order to get to where I needed to be in the wall to do another super jump. Here we have the other hardest boss in the game. There we go. The bosses in this game are not threatening. They really don't do much if you know what to do. If you know how to beat them very quickly, they go down very quickly, and they don't stand much of a chance at all. So now that we are free to leave Dungeon 4 upon having completed it without bearing the burden of the ghost that follows us around, we're just going to go straight to Dungeon 5. A lot of people don't like Dungeon 5, but I actually really like Dungeon 5. The routing is actually super interesting. So Dungeon 5 has Master Stalfos in it. Master Stalfos, you have to kill him 4 times in order to get the hook shot, right? So you kill him in one room, then you go kill him in another room. You don't really kill him, you just kind of beat him. And he's like, I'll get you later, and then he never does. But so we deal with him 4 times, and then the 4th time he actually dies and he drops the hook shot. But we do something a little bit strange on the first Master Stalfos fight, which actually lets us route the end of the dungeon a little bit more efficiently. So you aren't supposed to be able to kill Master Stalfos before you're supposed to kill him, like when he drops the hook shot, and that much is evident by the fact that he actually drops a key for whatever reason if you do manage to kill him in the first room. So he drops a key right here, or not right here, but you know, once I actually kill him, once I actually get to him. So we're gonna fire 4 bomb arrows here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's just gonna die. But you can tell that the game obviously doesn't expect this to happen, because he drops a key, and the music keeps playing. The mini-boss music just continues to play. Instead of, you know, the Dungeon 5 music. But it's okay, because he's back. There are actually 2 of them, I guess. So there he is again. It's just very curious, because like then the game decides to play the normal music again. So we got an extra key from that. We use that extra key later on in order to take a route that I think is 4 seconds faster at the end. Whoops. And by the way, using bomb arrows, except for that first fight, using bomb arrows is actually no faster. So right there, I actually did something called a naked super jump, which means basically I'm already facing in the direction I need to be able to jump off of the cliff, which is away from the wall in every single circumstance, by the way. And you are not supposed to be able to make this jump. And I failed it that one time. There we go. But if you are in between 2 tiles, like as close as you can, if you're in between the columns, sorry, if you're in between the columns there, you are actually able to make it up there. You get like kind of sucked up there or down there, depending on which way you think about it. All right, so now we're coming up on the 4th and final Master Stalfos fight, and there's nothing really interesting to see here other than a pixel perfect exposition, allowing me to fire upwards 3 times in quick succession. If I'm on any other pixel besides for that one, Master Stalfos would sway left and right, like, not to my liking. All right, so now we have the hook shot. So the hook shot is going to be central to a skip that we do right after this dungeon. Actually, we just kind of go rush to do it right after this dungeon. It is considered the trick in this run, and right there actually was a little hint of what it entails. So you can actually, by the way, we just mash hookshot to clip through that block. And here's Slime Meal. So what I did, by the way, was you can actually use the hookshot while you're hovering over a pit, because pits are made up of individual tiles in this game, and you won't fall until you are right in the middle of one of those pits, essentially. So you have time to use the hookshot while you're in between 2 of those pit tiles. And we utilize that to do something called Rooster Skip. Rooster Skip, I remember once upon a time, used to be considered TAS only. It is double frame perfect, or it's technically double frame perfect. Like hookshot jumps, which is the name of the tech that Rooster Skip uses, are both frame perfect, and you can basically it's double frame perfect technically, but in reality, it's all about like reacting to like what Bow Wow's doing and your own orientation within the pits, like the pit tiles. So we're just going to be beelining our way up towards Telltale Heights once again. Or Mount Tamaranch, whatever you want to call it. So, casually, where do I even start? Casually, what you need to do is first off, get the Ocarina, which by the way, we don't get the Ocarina in this run. We straight up just don't get it. We would need to get the Ocarina, learn the Frog Song of Soul, use the Frog Song of Soul to awaken the rooster in Mabe Village, which is the rooster that we skip, which is why it's called Rooster Skip. And then take the rooster all the way up to Mount Tamaranch to fly across a room with a giant pit. Wow, that Tektite is usually not the one that screws me there. large boots buffer, only to get ruined by uncooperative Moblin. Feels bad. Yeah, so we do that. We fly across the giant pit to access the Dungeon 7 key. But again, that just takes way too much time. So we are going to instead do it the cool way. So I'm going to save and quit as soon as I enter this cave. It's only partially for safety if I fail a trick. But it does have another purpose. So basically, we just want to save and quit at some point on this mountain. Whether it be here's the best place to do it. But here we go. Here's Rooster Skip. And that was actually flawless. That was both hookshot jumps frame perfect. Super good stuff. I'm really happy with that, actually. Especially in a marathon setting. Alright, so now we are just going to get our way over towards Dungeon 7. But yeah, that skip is really flashy. And also, Bow Wow, I don't think I mentioned this, but Bow Wow can get in the way because you actually clink Bow Wow with your hookshot if you hit him. So Bow Wow can actually get in your way, which is doubly annoying. Like, even if you do everything flawlessly, Bow Wow can still get in your way and ruin the trick. You can save it, but Bow Wow can get in your way still. All right, so we are coming up pretty soon on the deadline to meet the incentive to save Marin, by the way, as Bow Wow eats another cutscene.
Okay, folks, you heard that? Heard it here? You've only got a very short period of time. Let's see if we can get that. Save Marin. Does anybody have big pockets? Can we get $400 for Nami? Let's see if we can get those donations in. Thank you.
Yeah, we've got about 2 minutes until the end of this dungeon. Hopefully, if things go well. This dungeon does have some stuff, although oh man, I missed my opportunity to make the this dungeon has no glitches joke, but oh well. So we just we just bomb trigger away all these pillars. Just like that. So again, like I tried to do it on the transition, but couldn't quite get it, so I'm doing the pit method. So that means if I want to use the pit method, I either need to pause buffer it, which I didn't do, or I need to press A 2 times in 4 frames. There we go. So now we're going to do something called Goomba Surf. Goomba Surf is the other infamous trick in this run. Because it is luck dependent. So it's a pixel perfect Y position there. Or, you know, we can just first try it like a badass. That's fine too. Thanks, Goomba. That's incredibly lucky. That's a 1 in 4 chance to get that first try. Or any try. Now, remember when I said that saving and quitting actually serves a purpose in the Rooster Skip Cave? So this is that purpose. Something in the RAM of the game gets refreshed somehow and allows this to be possible. Where you can actually hookshot through the HUD and screen wrap with the hookshot to kill Evil Eagle. Do not ask me. I don't know. I don't know why that's a thing. I often say when it comes to LADX, I am the race car driver. I am not the engineer. For some things, I can actually explain some things in detail. I cannot explain that. I don't know. I simply don't know. But that's Dungeon 7, so I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, here's a spot to here's the spot to cut off the incentive.
Okay, we've got that cut off just now. Just let you know. Let us know when you want to know the result. Unfortunately, I think we know what it's going to be.
Okay. So yeah, it's coming up right here on the bridge. The opportunity. So we're gonna go the fast way. The fast way is to not save Marin. So Marin's here on the bridge. What you're supposed to do is hook shot across and save her. But yeah, we can actually just boots jump across and not do that because that cutscene loses about a minute to watch.
Well, a big thank you to the $100 donated towards that. We got $100 towards Nami, and we also saved a minute as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, so let's see if I can solve. Okay, just lay a bomb right there, and that Stalfos was somewhat cooperative. Okay, so this is called Flame Cave Skip, or Flame Skip, for short. That skip is as simple as holding upright and B, or A if your boots are an A. Like, it's not. Some skips in this game are super simple. Some are very hard, but some of them are just like, hey, if you can hold these buttons, you can do this skip. Like, that's what makes this game such a great first speed game for somebody, honestly, is the fact that there are so many tricks that are able to be pulled off in this game that I really do think that anyone can do. So it's a great, like, introductory speedrun, honestly. Of course, optimizing it can be hell, but that I feel like that's the case with most games. So, all right, so we're at Blano. We're in Dungeon 8, by the way. We're in Turtle Rock. After a really intense turtle head fight to enter the dungeon, we managed to just barely skirt by. Literally, actually. So the turtle at the beginning of this dungeon actually does not have a hitbox for the first, like, second or so of the fight. We can just dash right through the head to get in. All right, so we're gonna do something. So remember Jesus jumps? Now we're gonna do Jesus jumps on lava, except I'm gonna be 2 frames early. There we go. So if you buffer your sword, it actually corrects your subpixel to make that consistent. Whoops. I actually had to fix my menu there. That's another thing I haven't talked about all run, is the menuing. The menuing in this run, in this game, is actually, like, super individualized per runner, because the Game Boy Zelda games in particular, the Game Boy and Game Boy Color Zelda games actually allow you to move your menu, like, move the items in your menu wherever you want and place them wherever you want. And it's like no item has a designated place, which allows for a lot of individuality amongst runners for their menu routes. And it's really important to menu the same exact way every time so that you can know exactly where the items are in your menu each time. So you're not spending that extra, like, half second to a second or whatever, how much you'd spend. I spend a lot of time personally looking for items in your menu. So instead you can just know right where they are. It allows for, like, optimizations too in your menu. Also, that's an interesting thing. I'll explain that later. But here's Hothead. Hothead is very wonky in the sense that he can only take damage at certain points. He can only take damage when he's moving and when he's in a very strange, seemingly nonsensical, like, box in the room. Like, imagine like a box that Hothead can be in. He'll only take damage when he's in that box. And he takes 5 hits on the first cycle and then 2 hits on the second one. It's a weird fight. But basically, the way I got into that fight is even more interesting because when you do a Jesus jump or a lava jump, which by the way is landing on water or lava and pausing on the same frame in order to jump off of it again or transition, you actually get moved a pixel downwards, which allowed us to clip into that bottom wall and then super jump across to get to Hothead without going all the way, the way you're supposed to. All right, so now we're finally back at Dungeon 2. Dungeon 2 is going to be our last... Whoa. Excuse me. Our last instrument. And this room can be really flashy if I do it correctly. Oof. That was actually a tight one. Okay. I didn't jinx myself. How about that? I also have way more arrows than I usually do, just as a side note. I did something there. I did something kind of sneaky there called hookshot invincibility. So in a lot of Zelda games where you get the hookshot, you're actually invincible while you're using the hookshot, right? In this game, when you're really close to a hookshotable entity and you hookshot it, basically you set the flag for Link to be invincible, and that flag never gets unset. So you can be invincible for as long as you want to be, basically. Also, this is Genie. Genie, the bottle shatters after only one phase. It's supposed to take 3 phases, but it shatters after only one phase if you're clipped into that wall right there. Another thing, I don't know why that happens. I'm sorry. I just don't have an answer. But yeah, we have all the instruments now, so we are going to go up to the egg and play the song, of course, with no ocarina. So we're just going to bomb trigger it. So the final boss here is the only place in the game where we can actually manipulate RNG. And we can do that with the help of a special app, or a special like web app. So shout outs to Vlak, by the way, for their research on this, and also shout outs to Real Critical for making the app in a web browser, or like a web browser version of the app. So I'm gonna pull up see Agamanip. Okay. So anybody who's played Link to the Past or this game, you know about Aghanim, right? Aghanim can either fire a normal reflective energy ball at you that you can knock back at him, or he can give you what's called a blue ball. And they're actually potentially a lot more volatile in this game. Like, you can potentially, theoretically, get infinite blue balls in this game. Thankfully, we can actually manipulate this fight if we do it correctly. And the reason we can do it here and nowhere else is because we get rid of the music with a bomb trigger. And the music in this game actually has a pretty it plays a pretty big role in influencing the RNG and the way it works in this game. So by getting rid of the music, the only thing that matters for Aghanim, for like manipulating Aghanim, is your X pixel. So again, we just like mash bombs coming down the pit. We're gonna hold sword out here. This is the first phase. This is the blob quick kill. And that's ordinarily a 1 in 2 chance, but the way we do that makes it guaranteed. All right, so here we go. So I need to stand pixel perfectly on these first 2 on the X coordinate. I'm gonna stand directly in front of them. Nice. So now I need to keep track of exactly where he goes and the positions. There are 8 different positions he can go. And so he's standing right there. So I'm going to stand here. I'm going to mark the position down. And the web app is actually going to tell me exactly where I need to stand. And I need to stand exactly a pixel away from the wall. And I couldn't get it. Okay, cool. So now we're at the mercy of Aghanim himself. Yeah. Bring him on. Bring him. Yep. This is what happens. I couldn't quite move a pixel. Please. Okay, well, at least now I know if I stand a pixel off there, it should work. There we go. Okay. All right, this is the Moldorm quick kill, which I somehow failed. Okay. This is a hell of a final boss so far. Can actually equip boots and speed this up a bit. Okay. So the Ganon phase just takes 12 dashes into him. And then, yeah, you can see why we manipulate that fight. You can see that. So now I have the Death Eye phase. The last phase of the final boss takes 16 arrows when his eyes open. Ideally, you can get 4 per. And I'm going to be taking advantage of iframes here. Oh, I dropped an arrow. Which is actually a shame, because otherwise I had a flawless fight. Yo, please open. Just one more. Thank you. There we go. Okay, so time should be coming up in about 15 seconds. And looks like we're gonna have like a lowish 51. Yeah, and time. 51:17 on my end. Hey, thanks. But yeah, that is Link's Awakening DX, any percent, no wrong rope, not a bounds. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope that my commentary sort of did the run justice. This is a very fun run. Would highly recommend this once again to anybody who's just starting out speedrunning, or even as their introductory game, honestly. And it's also really fun to try and push that time down as well. So like I learned this for a 12-hour challenge back in 2016. So yeah, it's definitely a fun run. And yeah, that's all I got. And thanks a lot for having me once again.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, TGH. That was absolutely fantastic, as always. I really, really enjoyed that run. I hope everybody else here enjoyed it as well. Do you have any final words, any shout-outs or anything?
Shout-outs to the LADX community and to like 2D Zelda communities in general. The Discord is a really good place to learn if you do want to learn this run. So check out the Discord, check out the guides and everything. But yeah, they're a friendly, welcoming community, and yeah. So, and again, it's a really good place to start with speedrunning if you're looking to get into it. So for sure. Also, if you feel like following me, I'm TGH_SR. Follow me on twitch.tv/TGH_SR, where I do 2D Zelda games like out the wazoo. Like I speedrun each of the first 8 2D Zeldas that were released by Nintendo. Important distinction. And so yeah, that's it for me. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks for watching.